So I tried like making beats first, kind of sucked at it. At that point, when I was like 15, I still thought my plan was gonna be go to college, get a degree in business or finance. He saw me performing, he was like, yo, you got something. Like, even though there was only 15 people here, you performed like it was 100 or 200 or whatever. So making a song like that is like capturing lightning in a bottle. I know for a fact that a lot of artists buy fake albums. A lot of artists juice their numbers up. I was in the studio 2 days ago and knocked out 2 features for $250 total.
All right, today we got 24kGoldn in the building, or we're really in his building.
Yeah.
He invited us. Thanks to him, he gave us an interview today. We'll start off with how you came up. You're originally from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So how'd you grow up? 2 parents, 1 parent, how was it like?
So I grew up in San Francisco, California, in the Lakeview area with my mom, my dad, and my sister.
All right, cool. And you're a mixed kid.
Yeah.
So
my dad's black and Catholic, and my mom is like Jewish and Jewish.
okay, so were you raised somewhat culturally Jewish?
We would always celebrate like both holidays. So it was like Christmas and Hanukkah. Like my parents didn't push me to be like super religious or anything, but they just wanted me to see like perspective of like ways of thought.
Yeah. Okay. No, because I had originally grown up around a neighborhood with a lot of Jewish people, and culturally they're very like focused, driven, focused on school too, which I was thinking maybe like your mom rubbed off on you in that way, and she's like, hey, you got to focus on certain priorities.
Yeah, my parents were always like heavy pushing school on me, not because I'm Jewish, but I think just because like they wanted to see me have a better life than they had growing up type shit.
That's a good segue, because people say a lot of crazy things. So you had already said like your parents were models and that's how they met, that's how they got married. People make the assumption, okay, your parents were models, you were in certain modeling commercials, that means that you were rich.
No, not at all. So Lakeview is like one of the last hoods in San Francisco. So it was like pretty lower middle class. Like we always had food to eat and like a roof over our head, but it was because my parents were working like 3 jobs each type shit.
Okay, that's great. Because a lot of people will make crazy assumptions. They'll say you're an industry plant because your parents are models. Some people made some crazy thing because Post Malone, for instance, he had said that his dad worked concessions for the Dallas Cowboys. And people said, oh, his dad worked for the NFL, therefore he got him signed or something like that.
Yeah, people, they'll extrapolate shit from like one little comment into like a whole narrative in their head. But I think people don't realize most models don't make that much money. And they were in like the prime of their modeling like in the 90s and in the 80s and stuff like that. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. And so you grew up, you focused on school, you always did well in school.
Yeah.
When did music come into play and you were like, damn, I'm not only listening to music, and what were you listening to, but when you said, I need to make some of this?
So I always like loved music. There was always music going on in the house. I was always like singing. When we went to church, there was like a famous gospel choir there. So music had always been around me. Like I was soaking it in subconsciously, but it wasn't until the first time I ever tried to make music was in middle school, because they had like this little room at lunch with like a studio in it. And it was this dude named Rimo, and he was like, yeah, come fuck around in the studio. And like some of my friends were rapping, but I didn't have enough confidence to be like, all right, this is me, I'm gonna say this. So I tried like making beats first, kind of sucked at it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna put that on the back burner. And I forgot about it until I was in high school. And you know those times when you're just like in somebody's mom's Honda and y'all all got YouTube beats on the aux and everyone's going around and freestyling and shit like that. That was where I really figured out like, oh, I'm actually good at this.
So you got the reception from the other people, and they were like hitting you when you're rapping over the beat, like, oh.
Yeah, like people, they would fuck with it, but it got to a point where like every time we hung out, I'd just be like, yo, let's freestyle. And they were like, all right, we get it, you good at this shit. Like, go take that shit like somewhere else. Like, if you're gonna really be doing this, like, put out music, make music, something like that. And that's when I went to my big bro, Paperboy, who I had known for 2 years at that point, and I told him like, yo, I want to make a song, because he had a studio upstairs at Dream Team SF.
So originally, how you connected with him? Were you into like sneakers and stuff like that? The whole fashion game at that point, and that's how you built that relationship with him. He saw you coming back a lot in the store. He was like, "Yo, who is this kid?"
Basically, like I went there on my 13th birthday because I didn't have no party that year. I didn't do nothing. I just remember I would always drive by this sneaker store a couple blocks from my house, and like I never been there before. And I'm a huge sneakerhead. I was an even bigger sneakerhead back then. So I went in on my birthday. I bought some shoes, like some shirts, and he had Galaxy Foamposites on. And this was like 2013, and that was like the
most grail, the hype thing going on. Everybody wanted hands on Galaxies.
Motherfuckers were trading their cars for it. They were doing all types of wild shit. So I was just like shocked to see not only that somebody in my area that I lived in had them, but was wearing them like on a Tuesday, like on some casual shit. So I just kept going back and like started helping out at the shop, started helping out at sneaker events, and then we just built a bond like that.
So he had the studio up top. Was anybody else recording there, or was he just a fan of music? So he just set it up?
Yeah, so Paperboy, he makes music himself too. So that's why he had the studio, because he's been making music for years. So he like opened those doors to me and let me start recording there.
So you start making music. This is years before anything takes off.
Yeah.
You're 14 years old. This is like 2013-ish.
I'm like 15 at this point. This is like 2015, sophomore.
You're a high schooler. So this is when you start making music. Do you start spreading it around the school, hitting people up on, I think IG was somewhat so IG was popping at this point, hitting up people like that more locally? Or were you just working on it and you're like, all right, I'm not ready to put this out until I get to a certain quality level?
I've never been like that, because I always feel like whatever you're going to make down the line is going to be better than what you're making now. So why even hold on to this shit now? Like, just put it out there and let people hear it. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, shit, maybe they'll like the next song. So what I did, like, I specifically remember this. That first night, as soon as I finished my first song, uploaded it on SoundCloud, and I spent like 2 hours texting every single person I knew at my school a link to the song and told them to like share it with their friends, let me know what they think. And then I went to Snapchat and Snapchatted every person I knew at my school, and then I like posted on Instagram or something like that. And when I came to school the next day, people were like listening to it in the courtyard and like coming up to me like, "Oh, I fuck with your new song, bro." And I was like, all right, I think I might have something here.
All right, at this point, every school got him. Did you have any haters? They're like, man, they probably wouldn't say it to you, but you see the way they look at you, like, oh, he walking around thinking he popped because a couple people listened to his song, man, that shit whack.
I mean, I was already popping because I was just like funny and like handsome and shit like that. So people will fuck with me just off the personality and like the humor and shit like that. But so it wasn't, I don't think it was necessarily like a big surprise to anyone when I started like pushing my music and like trying to get it popping at school. And every school got haters, like you said, but no one was saying anything to my face. And like, I just kind of took that shit as motivation rather than like discouragement.
All right, so at this point, you're like, okay, your high school is messing with you.
Yeah.
Were you thinking, okay, I'm trying to make better music, but were you thinking more reach? At this point, is it running through your mind like, okay, I could actually take this somewhere, or am I just gonna be like popping locally, just doing this for fun? Were these thoughts going through your mind? You're like 15, 16, still in high school at this point, especially managing school. You're performing really well in school.
I don't know, because I was probably doing music for like 2 years, like 15 to 17 before I started taking it seriously. Like in the beginning, it was just like, I like doing this. It's going well. So I don't really see no reason to stop. Like if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, I'm still doing well in school. So I could go theoretically get like a good job and not really have to worry about it.
Okay. So this was never like, I need to make this work. You were just like, this is a cool thing. You're focused on it. Kind of like, let's say how an athlete would be focused on basketball during school. Like most athletes that, let's say they're doing well in school, they're not saying like, yo, NBA is my only thing. Yeah. But they're just like, hey, if this gets me a scholarship, I'm going to college. That's another opportunity for me to level up.
Yeah, I mean, at that point when I was like 15, I still thought my plan was going to be go to college, get a degree in business or finance, and then go to like Wall Street, start my own company, and just get breaded up that way.
Okay. Now, when is the shift where you start saying, okay, I'm gonna start pushing this digitally to people who have no idea who I am?
Yeah. So one thing that I realized pretty early on was that my sound was not like any of the music that I was surrounded with. Because if you know like Bay Area music, it's got a very distinct sound, like very distinct flows, very distinct type of beats. And me being somebody that listened to that stuff growing up, but that wasn't the only thing I listened to. I was on the internet listening to Kanye, listening to Cardi, listening to Rocky, Travis Scott. Like, I got a lot more influence from that than I did my local area. So I'm like, all right, if people locally aren't fucking with it, because once I like got all the high schools and like those type of kids fucking with me, it felt like I hit a ceiling. Like, I know my music is good, but I just need more people to listen to it. So that's when I started learning about like digital marketing and like SoundCloud repost networks and like blog submissions and all that type of shit.
And that's kind of how you originally got discovered or got some sort of big breaks. And I think one of the songs that you were trying to push at that point was Ballin' Like Sharif.
Yeah.
So how'd that song come together? I think it's probably one of the few people that have ever made a song specifically about Sharif O'Neal.
Yeah.
So what made you make a song specifically about him? Record the video. How's the video recorded? And how the song panned out and how you promoted it, and then how you got recognized for it mostly.
So the inception of the song, the whole reason I made it was, so this was what, maybe 2017, 2018 almost. And I believe December 2017 or early 2018, that's when Sheck West dropped Mo Bamba. And it didn't blow up yet, but me just being like the music lover I am, I found that song early. And I just thought like, oh, all right, if somebody can make a song about a college basketball player, which is more relevant to Sheck and his age and his peers and shit like that, why don't I make a song about a high school basketball player? Because I'm still in high school. And honestly, I didn't know who Sharif was until like a little bit before that song came out, or a little bit before I made that song, because I went to LA because I have some friends out here at the time, and they went to high school with Sharif. And one of the girls that was there was like dating him in high school, and she was like showing me his highlights and shit. And I'm like, oh, this is Shaq's son. He's like nice at hoop. Like, all right, we might be able to do something with that. So I just went on YouTube, and I remember looking for beats, and then that just kind of came to me. As far as like shooting the video and shit like that, I remember posting on my Instagram like just like a flyer that I made myself on Photoshop, trying to get people to come to the video and be extras in it. We shot it at the basketball court like 4 or 5 blocks away from my house for most of the scenes. And then one of my other friends had like this, his mom and dad had this like farm in Palo Alto with like a nice ass like modern guest house with it. So we shot it there for like the more upscale scenes.
All right, so do you think that the reason, and this is one thing that's come to mind, and it's more so like a marketing angle, do you think you look at promotion of music differently from a couple of other artists? Because most other artists, they see something like, okay, Mo Bamba, they're not thinking this is somewhat a marketing angle too. Sure, Sheck West had the relationship with Mo Bamba, a personal one, but Mo Bamba's blowing up, he's getting signed, he checks out the song, he loved the song, he shared the song. And high school basketball, I feel like during that era, 2016, 17, 18, especially on YouTube,
Yeah.
they were getting to be like stars.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like high school basketball, like the LeBrons back in the day, that was the only person followed. A lot of high school athletes were getting stardom on social media. So do you think that you saw that potential, which like most other artists didn't look at it from a marketing angle and said, if I attach this to this name, it's low key enough that nobody else is doing it, but it's at that level where people are going to look at it and like, oh, I know who Sharif is. Let me check this out.
I don't think I was thinking like that deep at the time, but I was just like, all right, if it worked for a college basketball player, it's gonna work for a high school basketball. It should work for a high school basketball player too. And like we ended up building a relationship off that song and stuff like that. So I don't know, it all just kind of worked out.
And I found that song, well, when I was looking back into research on the first video that you did, it was on this blog site. Was it DJ Booth?
Yeah, it was DJ Booth.
Okay, so how'd that song end up on DJ Booth? Because you were among a bunch of different artists on that list.
It was this writer named Herschel Pandia, and he basically wrote this article that talked about the stigma of being called a SoundCloud rapper. Whereas Because now how people talk about like TikTok rappers,
Yeah.
that's how they were talking about SoundCloud rappers 2017, 2018. And basically the whole point of his article was you shouldn't be judged on the platform that you put your music out on. You should be judged on if your shit's actually fire or not. And at the end of the article, he was like, so if there's any so-called SoundCloud rappers out there, send me your link and I promise I'll listen to at least 45 seconds of it. So I remember being like the first reply on that tweet, DMing him, emailing him my song, and then just kind of forgetting about it. Because at that point, I was just shooting every shot I could. Anything I thought that would help more people listen to my music, I would go for it. So I sent it to him, forgot about it, and then like 2 weeks later, he posts a follow-up article saying, I listened to these SoundCloud rappers' music, here's what I thought. And like out of all the songs on there's maybe like 10 songs, he spoke the highest of my song. And that's how DA Got That Dope ended up seeing Ballin' Like Sharif. So he emailed me, and this was before, like right before Taste blew up. And I sent him 3 songs. I sent him Ballin' Like Sharif, I sent him Time for That, and I sent him Valentino.
So Valentino was already made at this point.
I wrote Valentino at my family computer with a beat off of YouTube playing on loop for like 2 hours. My parents didn't even know I was making music at this point. I was just writing everything in like this app on my phone.
Yeah, because you had said that in a different interview, you were saying that your voice had changed from when you had originally made and recorded Valentino. So it was getting a little bit harder for it to sound the same.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't even know if I even fully hit puberty at that point yet, but it was a lot easier for me to hit those high notes than it is now.
So you sent those songs to DA, Got That Dope. Shout out to him, great producer.
Yeah.
And did he send it to other people, or how did because Valentino took off, I didn't really find out about you until a little bit after. It was before Valentino took off, but I had found about you from games on my phone.
Yeah.
From a buddy of mine. I was out here in LA actually. I think it was maybe early 2019, sometime like that. Whenever Games on Your Phone first came out, the music video, I was with my buddy Yofre, shout out to him. And
yeah, he used to run that college page, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, yo, have you heard of, he asked me about a bunch of rappers, but have you heard of like 24kGoldn? I was like, what the hell kind of name is that? Like, sure, put it up.
Yeah.
And he put Games on Your Phone. I was like, all right, this is okay. The video's cool. But then he played me Valentino. I was like, yo, this shit is crazy.
Yeah.
It was insane. And then like I followed it, and then it kind of took off slowly initially.
So basically with DA kind of bringing me into the, like getting me signed, bringing me into the label was right after I sent him those songs, Taste blew up crazy. So all these execs were looking at him because that was the song that revived Tyga's career.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're an executive and you're like, yo, this producer is able to make a beat that's gonna make a song that's gonna revive somebody's career, we should probably tap into that producer's mind. So he was talking to all these different labels, and he ended up like really fucking with Barry Weiss, who was the head of records, which is one of the labels I'm signed to now. And Barry would keep sending him artists. And eventually he went back to him like, yo, these guys are cool, but none of them make as good of music as this guy 24kGoldn does. And that's when he sent him Valentino, Time for That, and like a couple other songs that me and DA had made when I visited LA. And Barry, I remember like walking to my friend's dorm or something like that at college and getting a call from a random New York number. And it's Barry Weiss, and he's like, I'm trying to sign you right now. Like, can I, if I come to LA on Monday, will you guys be ready? Da 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 da. And I was still pretty green in the game, but even then I realized like there's no need to rush into this because there was another like media company that was trying to sign me too. So now I had like 2 offers on the table, and I ended up asking them to fly me out to New York to meet the team for records and like getting a lawyer, and Stretch was managing me at that time. So we all kind of just talked it over and decided that that was the best thing for me to do, to sign with them.
So you already had this manager, Stretch. How did you meet this specific manager that you had at that time?
Yeah, so in San Francisco, there's this dude named Big Rich, and he made one of the first songs to go on MTV, like one of the first big songs out of San Francisco called San Francisco Anthem. And after that, he still made music, but he kind of pivoted, and he was like, all right, I really want to use my platform to uplift other people in my community in San Francisco and Fillmore and Lakeview and Bayview and stuff like that. So he created this program called Project Level, which was like an after-school program, summer program, youth program that would help kids learn about what it's like to have a career in music or modeling or TV or film or something like that. And I performed at this like small ass San Francisco event, 415 day. It was April 15th because that's the area code of San Francisco. And there was maybe like 15 people there, and he was one of the people there. And he was like, he saw me performing. He was like, yo, you got something. Like, even though there was only 15 people here, you performed like it was 100 or 200 or whatever. So he asked me if I had a job that summer, and I didn't. So he offered me a job to come work at that program and like get paid by the city who was sponsoring it and just be a part of that family. And we built a relationship from that. And when he found out I was moving to LA for college, he was like, you know, there's somebody I think you should meet. This guy, he's pretty much the only person that's been able to take Bay Area artists and make them bigger than the Bay Area. So he managed like Sage the Gemini, I Am Sue, Mac Dre back in the day, SOBRBE, all Bay Area artists that were able to kind of escape that bubble from the Bay. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. So we met in LA, and he ended up being my manager.
So you're still working with him to this day?
Yeah, to this day.
And I think, so you've had a lot of small instances. A lot of people will say, oh, you know, you're an industry plant, right? But as you tell your story, a lot of these opportunities, you could call them, they came from you doing really small things that a lot of other artists would think are insignificant.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's not going to move the needle. I need to be talked about by this page or this huge person, or I need to get directly to, let's say, at one point, like Zaytoven, if I'm in Atlanta, or I need to get to this person. But these small things that you were doing, especially like performing in front of 15 people, that got you noticed with this manager that you're still working with to this day. He opened doors for you. Same thing when you sent your music in to the writer at DJ Booth, that got you noticed. And the thing is, I've recognized is that even after you were saying like, oh, you're shooting your shot at everything, you're kind of still remaining with that same practice because you do a lot of media.
Yeah.
And I feel like for someone, especially after you had blown up, you were doing interviews, shows. I had seen you on this one thing. I think it was with Chinatown Market.
Yeah.
It was a really low-key thing. I was like, damn, I found this while I was doing some deep research for another video. I was like, damn, he's doing everything. So you're still, even when you're at a certain level, you're like, hey, this might be a smaller thing for me to do, but I'm still going to do it because it's potentially a new audience.
Yeah.
Do you think you just still have that same mentality you had back then?
I think it's kind of shifting a lot, especially after the whole mood and pandemic shit, because back then it was just a very grassroots approach. Like it was like a hybrid approach. Like I was doing stuff in the streets, you know, to build my name up locally and meet new people, but I was also like shooting shots on the internet. And now I feel like I have this platform. I don't have to do everything because if I'm being honest, like when mood was going up, right, in the pandemic, and it was every single day I would do 3 to 4 hours of interviews on Zoom, and every single interview would be 10 minutes. So that's 6 interviews per hour. So I was doing 18 interviews a day sometimes, right? Of just me in my bed, talking to the same type of people, answering the same types of questions over and over and over again. And like, that was probably one of the most dreadful experiences I ever had in the music industry.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always wondered about interviews, especially like artists having to rehash the same thing over and over and over. And that seems like it gets draining after a while. But one question though, so Mood blows up, right? Number 1 song. When you originally got signed, you were kind of green in the game in the sense that you didn't really have like much of a buzz online. Has your deal been renegotiated since then?
Yeah, my deal has been renegotiated.
Okay, so you're happy wherever you're at?
You're never gonna be fully happy wherever you're at as an artist, but I'm definitely, it's a better situation. Like I was in a pretty good situation relative to my success and other people that would be in the same situation, but now I'm like, it's just a lot more fair, I think.
Yeah. And with Mood, that song was a surprise to me because I saw a little bit of how Valentino had blown up. The majority of it that I saw was on TikTok. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw City of Angels. But the way that Mood took off, it was kind of someone else had sent me the song after like 6 days, and it hadn't hit 1 million. It was another rapper because he was a little bit worried that he had fell off, and he was like, "Hey man, I did 1 million in a couple of days. These two guys haven't done 1 million yet."
Yeah.
So it was like 6 days on the music video. I was like, "Oh, okay." I listened to the song. I was like, "Damn, this is a pretty good song." And then I feel like 2 days later, it was on the top of today's top hits, all these playlists. I was like, "All right, what the hell's going on?"
It wasn't literally that fast, but it definitely. I think we dropped the song July 24th. We dropped the video like mid-August, and then by September, it was on all these playlists and stuff like that. But it really just took off. Like with Valentino and City of Angels, TikTok was the main driving force behind it. Like those songs went viral on TikTok. With Mood, it was a combination of going stupid viral on TikTok, but also radio was fucking with it heavy. Like the call outs, that's when like the radio, like people will call in to request songs and stuff like that. Like those were, like people love that song on radio. People love the song on TikTok. Playlisting, it got on a lot of playlists, but not like the top spot, you know? It would be like the 30th song on there just because that's what a label's supposed to do, get you on playlists.
Yeah.
But if people don't skip the song, if people add it to their playlist, if people share it, if people listen to the whole thing, that tells the algorithm that this is a popular song or this is a good song. And it just rose to the top really fast on there.
So do you think, because you were one of the first rappers, artists in general that I've seen that decided to not only go on TikTok and use it, because I was talking about it when, like right when you were getting on it, I was like, I don't know why more rappers aren't on there. And now every rapper is just like, oh, how do I blow up on there? And it's like, hey man, you kind of like, you should have got in earlier.
That train left the station, yeah.
Yeah. But you, not only did you create content on there, which is most rappers weren't doing that at the time, but you also decided to build relationships within like the TikTok sphere of people that were blowing up during that time.
Yeah.
And do you think that was valuable to you to push these songs?
1,000%, because the way that I looked at TikTok was like, this is the best music discovery platform that exists right now. Like if your song goes on TikTok at that point in time, it was out of here. I had seen Lil Nas X have the biggest song on the world off of TikTok. I done seen Arizona Zervis, who I knew like a year before Roxanne even blew up, and like we were homies and shit like that. I seen him sign the craziest record deal of all time off of Roxanne. So I'm like, if I can get my shit going on here, I'm gonna be good, because I was coming from a place where I didn't have a huge following in my hometown. I didn't have an internet cult fan base. I didn't have a cosign from a big artist. I didn't have any viral songs at that point. So I was just like, what can I do to get the most amount of people to hear my music? And the funny thing is with Valentino, it wasn't even anything I did. It was this girl, Aviva Sophia, who was like a 19-year-old TikToker in Michigan who would dress up in cosplay, police, nurse, firefighter outfits and do like this little dance to that shit. And it just kind of took off. And that was the start of what made me realize like, oh, if this could happen on accident, we can make this shit happen on purpose.
That's the thing that I think other artists that have even blown up on TikTok didn't pick up on and say, yo, this happened to me by accident. They don't decide to build the relation. I've even seen certain artists who their songs are blowing up on TikTok and they kind of shun it away and try to push it away. And I would always ask, like, why would you do that? They're opening you up to a whole new fan base.
Yeah.
But do you think the way you demonstrated, not only doing TikTok, building these relationships, I feel like most of the blowing up of City of Angels was on your behalf, like your work. Do you think that made your record label say, okay, this guy's demonstrated a lot, we're gonna put a lot more effort behind him? Because I feel like I didn't really see a label kind of push behind a song until Mood.
Yeah, I mean, so because of the way my deal is, it's like a code deal. It's records with Barry Weiss and DA and R and all that stuff, but it's partnered with Columbia Records. And because Columbia didn't find me, I wasn't a priority to them. They didn't give a fuck about me in the beginning. So it was just like the records team and me and my management team, you know, that type of situation. But once I proved myself with Valentino, I thought, okay, now they'll finally care and I'll get some push on playlisting and like opportunities that are gonna let a lot of people hear my music. No, that was just like, all right, you got one, kid, like, Nice. Let's see if you could do it again. Without saying that, but that's kind of how it felt. So I was like, oh, all right, that's how it is. All right, let me turn up on y'all real quick. So with City of Angels, that no one even really believed in that song at the label. Like everyone was like, yeah, this is cool, but like you're a rapper, like make that type of music. And I was like, I'm telling y'all, this is a hit. Like everybody I play this song to loves it. So I took $2,500 and got somebody to make a dance remix of the song. And this was all out of my advance money, basically.
Yeah.
I took $2,500 and got someone to make a dance to the song, $2,500, someone to make a remix to the song. And when I went on tour with Corday in the beginning of 2020, every single city that I went to, we would find who was the biggest influencers there for TikTok, give them tickets to the show, kick it with them for the day, and they would just end up making videos to the songs. And it just added up and added up and added up. And then I remember like one day Charlie D'Amelio made a video to the song, and it was just like out of here. Like we were doing 1 million plays a day on Spotify with no playlisting at all. And that's when I turned it to the label and I was like, so is that enough? Like, are y'all gonna do something now? And then they finally got behind it and it got like on Today's Top Hits and all that type of shit. But it was a lot of hard work and grinding to get to that point in the first place.
All right, so you and Ian Dior, you guys have the biggest hit of both of your careers up until this point together. You guys are close. You guys are always hanging out. Well, the biggest question that I had was Ian Dior ended up being on Trippie Redd's tour. Mm-hmm. And you have your own headlining tour with support from Bankroll Hayden. I think the biggest question not only I had, but other people are probably asking, how come you guys didn't end up going on tour together?
And I think that's something that would have been fire, and it's still not out the question. Like, we've been talking about doing the collab EP, like tape together and stuff like that. So that's a situation where it would probably make more sense to tour together. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest reason is because we want to be artists individually too. We don't just want people to think of us always together as like a package, like it's like some boy band or some duo. Like we had separate artist careers before we met and became friends and had this big song together. So we want to keep that going. But like that's the homie. Like I pop out at his festivals, he pops out at my festivals. So you're still gonna get that experience.
Okay, so you guys just wanted to make sure that people didn't get the wrong idea and start to merge you guys two into like a duo.
Yeah, I mean, we're both like light skinned with like a little braids and stuff like that. Like people would be confusing, not as much anymore, but when the song was first going up, people would confuse us for each other and stuff like that. So I feel like that kind of made us want to be a little more distinct before we come back together again.
No, that's brilliant because I feel like that's not the mistake, but the perception that a lot of people had initially with Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug, because they were both individual artists. Honestly, before they got together, Rich Homie Quan had more of a buzz, but then they linked up, and then Rich Homie Quan was like, "Hey man, I kind of want to feel like my own artist," and he went off and did his thing and had like an actual big hit. Yeah. But they kind of got lumped in together for a while, and it was difficult for both of them to break out of that.
Yeah, and I mean like, yeah, you're right.
All right, yeah. So you were saying the label had a little bit of an issue, not an issue, but they raised the concern like, hey, you're a rapper, you're making the City of Angels song. Earlier this year, before you released your debut album, El Dorado, you said you would be rapping a lot more on it in a tweet. I remember had seeing it. How come there wasn't a lot of rapping that ended up in El Dorado?
I think there was. I think it's just my idea of rapping is different than the traditional idea of rapping. Because if you listen to those songs, most rappers are using melodies nowadays. So like I'm always singing on the hooks damn near, except for songs like Company and The Top maybe, but that's even kind of singy. But I just meant more like more bars, more lyrics, because even in like Love or Lust, the first verse is, would you walk 8,000 miles just to make me smile on a rainy Wednesday? That's rapping to me.
Okay, so you just meant it in terms of the writing and the lyrics, but you were going to deliver it the same way 24kGoldn delivers his raps.
Yeah, it's still going to be me. But it was just, instead of like, singing is like sustained notes to me the whole time. Rapping is more just like chopping flows and shit like that.
You do have a group of detractors, you could call it, within hip hop. And I feel like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but me looking at it, it's kind of like a lot of people that are rap fans, they see you as not really a rapper, even though you do rap. Yeah. Do you think, are you trying to just travel out of it and just become, because at the end of the day, you've already had a hit, trying to go more the pop route and still rap? Or are you still trying to like, okay, I'm going to prove to these guys that I am a rapper and I'm here to stay?
I mean, I'm always gonna be a rapper at the end of the day because I'm rapping. I don't really, if you don't think I'm a rapper, like that's just your personal opinion. But I've proven that I can rap before. If that double XL freestyle, that was bars. I mean, the top, there's bars on that. Company, there's bars on that. All my old music, especially like the shit that's on SoundCloud still, not that's not on Spotify. I was really like came into the game straight rapping, not even using melodies at all. So I see myself bouncing between those two worlds, but I just like to combine this shit together to make a sound that is different.
Okay. So you're more concerned with just making the music that is resonating with your fans and just building it out from there. And whoever ends up in that pool of fans is just who you're going to keep rocking with.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Now, this first headlining tour that you're doing, you had already been on tour with Corday, you said, and you had opened for Landon Cube prior to that. This is your first headlining tour. Do you think there's anything different? Have you learned a lot from your previous two tours?
Well, I think I know how to take care of my voice a lot better now. Like when I have this tweet in my drafts right now. Like it was the other day, I realized my first two tours, I was basically just going city to city and like drenching people with water, like terrorizing America one city at a time. Cause I felt like that was all I could do. Like people weren't coming there to these shows for me. They were just coming for Landon or Corday. And of course there was a couple people every time that like would come for me. But I felt like I had to like win people over every time. And that the best way that I thought to do that was to just have the most energy. So I was really like jumping into the crowds and like getting into the mosh pits with people, throwing water and shit like that. Which for this next tour, I'm really just more focused on the performance and the music and having that resonate with people while still having energy instead of just trying to like use theatrics to win people over.
Do you think this headlining tour is going to give you the opportunity to really build more of like your solid core fan base? Because this is something that I've said, I feel like it's a couple of other people have said, like 24kGoldn has hits and people are like, yo, I love that 24kGoldn song. But I feel like there are relatively smaller artists that have more of a rabid fan base.
Yeah.
And I personally had attributed that to you kind of blowing up when there wasn't that many shows going on. You couldn't move around a lot, do all of these festivals, which is how a lot of these artists build more of their rabid fan base. So do you think touring is going to give you the opportunity to do that? Or do you think there's some other changes you need to make for that to happen?
I think touring is a big part of it. Like, I'm self-aware enough to know that I think I'm a lot more entertaining and engaging and like in person than on the internet. Because even though I grew up on the internet, it's still kind of like foreign to me about the idea of putting my life out there, like talking about all my feelings on the internet or my problems on the internet, which I think is what a lot of people do. And that resonates with fans because they're like, oh, I have the same problems. But me, I'm like, I don't want to put all my business out there. But when I do my shows and I'm talking to the fans and I can look them in the eyes, I think they really feel where I'm coming from a lot more. Like, even this last month, I did Midtown Music Festival, I did Breakaway Festival, I did Summerfest, I did Gov Ball, I did this Vegas show. Like, I think I got more fans off of that last month of festival runs than I did probably with, like, Mood gave me a lot of fans, but any song before that, just in terms of like people DMing me after the show, like, yo, I fucked with your songs before, but now I'm a fan of you. So I think as that, I'm able to keep seeing people in person and they're able to like actually catch a vibe and see what I'm about. That's where the fans come in.
Yeah, because like you said, you're self-aware enough to recognize that, especially you probably met a lot of these artists, they're really boring in person. Yeah. And you're kind of like, damn, people are fans of this when it's the real life is very different from the way they're portrayed on social media and music videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you just believe it's more of like a matter of time thing before it just balances out and you just end up winning out.
Exactly. Like I'm a real life nigga and I'm learning how to be more personal on the internet as time goes by and share parts of my life that I do feel comfortable sharing on the internet, like what I'm doing every day, what I'm wearing, what I'm into, shows, movies, shit like that, thoughts about the world and politics and stuff like that. So I think as I get better with that, at being my authentic self online, and people see my authentic self in person at these shows and these pop-ups and these meet and greets, it's all gonna come together over time.
All right, so you had Valentino, you had Coco, Chanel, and now you got Prada.
Yeah.
How did this song come together? It's not that I'm surprised to see you with Lil Tecca because you guys merged together well. I mean, you killed the hook, which you pretty much always do. How'd that song come together and you deciding like, oh, this is the next song I want to put out?
So Taz hit me up. This might have been like January or February 2021. And he was like, yo, come to the studio. Tecca's working on his album. Just pull up, catch a vibe. So I went there and Mosey was there already. All Internet Money was there. Tecca was there with his peoples. And we just chopped it up and I had him play beats. And as soon as I heard that beat, it just kind of like came out of me, like, pause. Like, I don't know. I feel whenever I make a song that I know is a hit, it just comes really easy to me. Like, it feels like it's coming from this other place. Like, call it God, call it the universe, call it the fucking Akashic Records, call it whatever you want. But it's just like, it's just like making a song like that is like capturing lightning in a bottle. Mood was the same thing. City of Angels was the same thing. Valentino was the same thing.
So you think Prada like holds up to these other songs? That's how you felt when you were in the studio recording it?
Yeah, I think it'll be bigger than Coco for sure.
Okay. Now, another question that I had, you already had a big #1 song. It's not your first hit, really.
Yeah.
But do you feel the pressure of, I need to match that song or I need to come close to that song? Or are you more thinking like, no, I just need to continue like building this fan base because that's what's going to hold me over instead of constantly having the pressure of I need to chase a hit?
Yeah, at first I definitely felt pressure to follow up with that. But after a certain point, I kind of realized like that's an unrealistic ass expectation. Like Mood blowing up the way it did wasn't something I did on purpose. I just was having fun with my friends and I made a song that we all liked and I put it out there and it was marketed the right way and boom, it went up. Not every song is gonna be like that. Not every song can be like that. And to hold myself to that standard of success by defining success by numbers on a chart or something like that, that's just toxic. And that was fucking with my head. And I've come to realize over the last year that shit doesn't really matter. It just matters. Well, all that matters is, am I gaining more fans? Am I reaching more people's hearts? Am I able to spread the message accurately that I want to spread? And I feel like when I shifted my perspective and started thinking like that, my music just got better and more personal. Not that Prada is one of those more personal songs. There is some personal bars in there in the verse, but like everything that I've been working on lately has been going a lot more in that direction.
So you have been working on a lot of music lately.
Yeah.
Is there any time 24kGoldn in between now and let's say your next album, which of course will most likely be after you're done touring and all of that, are you gonna drop an EP? Like what's on your mind right now? Obviously it's subject to change.
So we just dropped Prada last night basically. So the way I think of it is like that song will hold me over for a couple months until I have to drop something else, just people discovering it and sharing it and falling in love with it. I got a song with Fabio and one more person that I'm not gonna say right now because I wanna keep a little secret surprise for them. But that might come out in December. And then I've bounced back and forth the idea of doing this deluxe because I hate the idea of deluxe. Deluxes is all just like marketing shit to like boost numbers. But at the same time, if you're actually putting out good music, no one really cares. They're just happy to hear new good music. So I don't know. I might have a deluxe, I might not.
Yeah, I think the deluxe is more of like the safe bet of, hey, well, I think most of it is just marketing, like let's pump up more sales. But I think a deluxe is also a safe bet for the artist where it's like, hey, I want to release some more music, but I don't want to call it a new project or anything like that. So just to feed the fans, I'll just drop this deluxe for them.
Yeah, and something that's been on my mind a lot lately is like, I just want to start dropping like YouTube freestyles and like running gun videos and SoundCloud tracks like that, just to like get music out there without having the pressure of it being a big release. Just like, this is how I'm feeling lately. If you fuck with it, you fuck with it. If you don't, you don't. If it goes up, it'll go on DSPs. If it doesn't, then it's just for the fans on YouTube or SoundCloud or whatever.
Yeah, that's one thing that Lil Yachty's done that I personally really liked and thought it was a good move. He just started dropping these YouTube freestyles, just recording in the studio. Like Coffin, for example, was one of those, and that just blew up like crazy.
Yeah.
And he didn't even really like push it initially. It was just like, hey, I'm throwing this up, and people just messed with it heavy, and it got spread like that.
I think in this day and age, everything is so fast. People's attention spans are so short. Like, if you're able to constantly put out good music, just here and there, tidbits, snippets, freestyles, little 1-minute videos or whatever, like, that's only gonna help you get more fans because it's more opportunities for people to realize, like, oh, I'm just like him, or oh, I actually fuck with what he said right there. I like that he's trying something new.
Yeah.
I'll play you some music after. I'm curious to hear what you think about all the different sounds I've been fucking with.
All right, for sure. I'm glad to hear that. Now, we got to talk about this feature price thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you were in an interview. You didn't explicitly say anything, but the guy was talking about a really high feature price for like what someone would assume. So I think they said anywhere, it was either 150 or 175. Mm-hmm. Now, my question is, number one, has that feature, we're not gonna like put you on the spot, has that feature released or is it yet to release?
The 175 has not released yet, but I was in the studio 2 days ago and knocked out 2 features for $250 total.
Oh, so the price went up?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like one was higher and one was like lower, but on average, like I just did 2 features for a quarter M. So like they're coming in. People are willing to pay that price.
So people, hey man, if people are willing to pay the price, you work the price. That's all there is to it.
Exactly. I mean, and like you said, it's definitely a lot more international stuff. It's definitely a lot more in the EDM dance kind of world that they have those budgets and they want to associate with somebody that's like hot with Gen Z and hot in America, shit like that. Or they saw how big the song Mood was in their country, so like their country will fuck with it tough. But yeah, it's real.
Do you think that works in your favor too with these international audiences? Because especially certain Nordic countries, Eastern European countries, even Western Europe, most of Europe, a lot of it is centered around like electronic music. Those festivals are huge. So do you think it's benefiting you to really branch out and be able to perform at all these spots if you're collaborating with these type of artists and DJs and stuff like that?
Yeah, like my second biggest song on Spotify right now is a song called TikTok with Clean Bandit and Mabel. And like, I did not know who they were before I did that song, but that song went like top 5 in the UK for a couple weeks, and it's like still does all these streams a day. And I know that I'm a global artist. I'm not just an American artist. I'm not just a regional artist. So that however way I can reach the most amount of people, I think benefits me to be everywhere I can.
All right, cool. 24kGoldn, we haven't seen 24kGoldn rolling around with a G-Wagon. 24kGoldn doesn't really flex, even though, and you just you knocked out 2 features for $250,000.
Yeah.
Is 24kGoldn still like in the same mind frame of that hedge fund manager where you're like, I'm focusing my money more so on things to further my career and playing the long game, and you don't feel the need to play hey, I'm making more money than you, I got the 2022, and then next year I got the 2023.
That's not why I want people to like me. Like, I don't want people to like me because I have these expensive things. I want people to like me because they fuck with my music, they fuck with my personality, they fuck with my style, they fuck with the way I think. So like, I got a G-Wagon, I got an AP, I got a bust down, I got all this shit, but I'm not the type to just put it out there like that's all I have to offer to the world. Like, that's like if you know type shit to me.
Okay, cool. Now, when it comes to, let's just say a pie chart. We got a pie chart for 24kGoldn, right? Mm-hmm. Where does the time go? So let's say how much time is spent recording music, how much time is spent on the road, how much time is spent, all of that.
That's actually a really good question because I never thought about it like that before. I think in a regular year, I'm probably gonna be on the road for like including like one-off shows and festivals and like traveling for media or shows or TV or whatever. Probably 5 months of the year is traveling. Within that time, so what's 5 months? Like maybe like 40% of my time is traveling. And within that time, I'll probably do recording and stuff like that, performing. But maybe another 3 months is recording music, just 90 days of recording music. So that's like, I don't know. Let's say
like
I
8
spend,
months. We'll just talk about the months.
All right, let's just say I probably spend like on an average week or average month, 40% of my time, 35% of my time recording, like 25% of my time just like fucking around, going out, playing basketball, going bowling, playing 2K, shit like that. I do a lot of meetings, and like I do invest in like brands and stuff like that, and like I'm very involved in my own marketing and content and stuff like that. So maybe content is like another 15%, and then whatever else is left out of that pie is maybe like just business stuff.
Yeah, I've also seen you do not only just you're invested in brands, certain brands have invested in you in terms of giving you certain deals. I was just randomly, someone had sent me a screenshot. You were on some Facebook ad for some, I think it was a credit card company or something like that. I don't know. Something big.
Because we didn't sign that deal yet, but that's good to know.
Yeah, it was something big. So how many, do you think the way you've been moving and not really doing anything crazy and keeping your image a certain way has allowed a lot more brands to want to mess with you?
Yeah, because that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately too, because it's not like I'm doing anything crazy anyways, but like I'm 20 years old. I'm a rapper. Like, of course I'm going to the strip club. Of course I'm going and popping bottles occasionally and doing that type of shit. But I never really wanted that to be the focus of my image, because I didn't want to deter money or opportunities from coming in. But I'm about to turn 21 in 2 months. So I feel like when that happens, I'm going to be a lot more comfortable putting more of my real life out there, because then it's like, well, he can do all these things, so it's not really like a bad look anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you thought anything past music or outside of music? Like, hey, like certain rappers, they did a clothing brand with, let's say a clothing brand messed with them. They sent them some stuff. They're like, hey, I messed with this. They partner up. Has 24kGoldn done anything like that? You don't got to say it out loud, obviously. Or hell, maybe if you're invested in it, you want to say it out loud so people can check it out, go ahead.
Yeah.
But have you done any of that? Or do you plan on doing anything like that?
As far as outside of music, like I've known from the jump, music is what I love to do. It's my passion. It's my purpose. But I'm not going to be able to provide for my kids just off of music alone. That's why I'm save my money and invest my money and take the business shit seriously too. Like, but outside of music and business, I'm also really into fashion. So I want to start a brand, but there's a lot on my plate already. And to make a good brand that's not just like some shitty merch knockoff looking thing, like it takes a lot of time and effort and research. So that's kind of on the back burner, but I definitely plan on doing that. Something more immediate though is I sold my TV show to Netflix or to Hulu. It's gonna be called Golden, and basically it takes place where after I leave college, I move into my friend's family's house, which is this insane 90210 Beverly Hills mansion, basketball court, pool, tennis courts, and this is like a true story. I lived in their guest house for that whole summer, and it's like the son is hella funny, like the mom is like a super powerful like agent, but in TV and film, and she's like kind of retiring, but me coming into the picture is getting her back in the game. And the dad is like this retired producer who's like hella funny and like just like hangs out with us sometimes. So it's kind of on some Fresh Prince of Bel-Air meets Entourage shit, and it's just gonna go starting from when I left college up until like Mood coming out is like season 1, and then season 2 is everything after that.
Oh, so this is still potentially ongoing. You had already got everything done and recorded. It's ready to go. It's just got to come out.
Oh, nah, like they bought the show and the studio approved it and everything. We just submitted the script for the pilot. The studio approved that with some notes. So we're probably gonna shoot the first episode like mid-2022.
Oh, so this is coming in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so people should look out for it. It's called Golden, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But that's just part of being everywhere. Like, I'm gonna be on your TV screens. I got a Sirius XM radio show. I'm gonna be on your radio. I'm gonna be on your playlist. I'm gonna be on your YouTube. Like, I just wanna be unescapable.
Yeah, they're not gonna escape. They're gonna see you everywhere. They're gonna see you on a billboard.
Exactly, yeah.
A lot of rappers, a lot of artists, their first move, when they get even remotely hot, they're like, all right, I'm signing another artist. You haven't done that yet, at least not that we know of. Is that something that you've ran through your head, Or is it something you're like, I got too much on my plate right now. I'm not going to be able to devote what's necessary for this?
Yeah, I've thought about it a couple times, but it's just like signing an artist is a big responsibility. And most people, when they sign, they don't know what they're getting into at all. And if you look at past artists that have signed other artists, like when you're an artist, you have so much of your own shit going on that you can't really, it's hard to be there for another artist's career in the same way that you're there for your own. So I don't want to have the responsibility of somebody's failure on my shoulders because I couldn't give them enough time. Like, plus, whether I'm an artist or not, I love music, so I could see myself being like 40 signing artists, you know, and actually having to be a better situation to sign to me because I know what it's like to be an artist, but I also know the business side of it and the marketing and the politics of how this shit works.
Do you think you learning the business and the marketing and the politics has made you not have the image that everyone else has of labels as like, oh, this big evil entity, and you start to recognize more so where they're coming from and how they're budgeting and spending on artists? And
I mean, to me, signing a record deal is exploitative in nature. Like the standard of what a record deal is, like I'll give this for example. When I signed my first deal before renegotiation and everything like that, I got 18% royalty, which is pretty good for a first-time artist.
It's really good.
That nobody heard of type shit. Like there's motherfuckers out here getting 12, 14, 16%. And I got 18%, which was considered really good. But if you think about that, isn't it kind of fucked up that getting less than 20% of your royalties is considered a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just exploitative in nature, and I think when it's my turn to, you know, be in that executive suite, I'm gonna approach things differently in a way where it's still fair for the label, but not fucking over artists.
And do you think you potentially did that because this rolls back to when you were signed in a joint kind of with Columbia? You weren't signed directly to Columbia. When you had Valentino take off and other rappers would have been like, okay, is the label going to do anything for me? You decided to say, okay, I'm going to go push harder, invest my own money, which honestly, they gave you from your advance.
Yeah.
And they should be paying for it,
yeah.
Honestly, at least upfront for these expenses that you spent on City of Angels. And you decided to work even harder and blow it up. A lot of other artists, they would have just went on Instagram, went on Twitter.
I'm leaving my label, man. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Bro.
But a lot of these other artists, they don't make any moves for anything to happen. So I feel like I understand the label's perspective in certain regards where they're saying, okay, you're not doing anything. You're not teasing any music. You're not engaging with any fans. Like, you got to give us something to work with. But certain artists just expect the label to do everything for them.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of that stuff is supposed to be done by a management team. Most artists don't have that great of managers. It's sometimes their friends or somebody they grew up with or shit like that. Like people that don't know the game or don't have a special tool set in marketing or branding or to plug them in the right places. Like I think, yeah, labels should often do more than they do, but at the same time, like getting signed to a label, that's not winning the championship. That's being a rookie in the league. Now it's what are you going to do in the league to get you that championship?
So you were signed to records with Columbia. That's your record deal. You have your management team. You have Stretch. How did you end up signing with Electric Feel? And what's that situation like? How did it come to be and all of that?
Yeah, so with Electric Feel, after Valentino blew up, I just felt like I needed somebody with more leverage, more resources, you know, to help me get what I wanted out of this music shit. The right opportunities, the right features, the right producers. And Electric Feel already had this ecosystem built in around Post Malone with talented producers, and they had a studio and stuff like that. And they just know how to do good business too. But I didn't want to leave Stretch fully if I didn't have to, you know? I respected his mindset and the fact that he got me to this place in the first place. So if I could make something work out with both of them, that's what I wanted to do. And I had to give up a little bit more percentage on the management side than typical, but I felt like that was worth it because there was a value add on both sides.
That's dope. Now, speaking of Post Malone, I've compared just the performance going back to El Dorado, because Post Malone's first album, Stoney, it didn't perform that well commercially. as what people had expected from him, having honestly like 3 back-to-back hits at that point, which was unbelievable. But that album over time has gone platinum. It's done numbers consistently for years. I think it might still be on the charts.
Yeah, on the 200, yeah.
Do you think, number one, was your expectations of El Dorado commercially higher than what it ended up being? Lower? What are you thinking of doing after that? And do you think El Dorado is one of those albums like a Stoney that over time people are going to discover and be like, damn, I didn't know this album was this good, and people will keep listening to it?
I think as people get, as I put more of myself out there and people get to know me better, they'll go back to that album and be like, oh, he was actually saying some shit on here. Damn, when you compare this to other albums that dropped around that time, like, this is actually a good album. And I think over time it'll get more love and appreciation. But one thing I learned, especially with Valentino taking 7 months to blow up after releasing it, and I wrote it a year before that, is that good music lasts forever. Like, it's just about when people figure that out. And as far as the commercial success of El Dorado, I don't think I expected much more, because I knew, hey, the main driver of this right now is my song Mood, and it's everywhere, but not everyone has realized that I'm the person that made that song yet. So I thought the album was gonna do well, like especially after they took away bundles and shit like that. Everyone's album sales have been lower. Yeah. So artists that would have been doing 40K, 50K, 60K with bundles are now doing 15 to 30K, you know? So I didn't really take it too harshly. I just knew that, okay, this is a good checkpoint of where I'm at right now. Let's see where it'll be next time.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything suspicious going on with albums in general? Because I'm not going to say any names, but I've seen certain other artists selling nearly as much as you, or as much as you, maybe a little bit more than you. I'm like, this artist is not hot at all. They've never had a hit, and I don't think they got the fans that are constantly streaming their album for the full week.
What did J. Cole say? Niggas be faking their streams, whatever.
Yeah, and they plays for machines.
Exactly. I know for a fact that a lot of artists buy fake albums. A lot of artists juice their numbers up. Me personally, I don't do that stuff. I don't feel the need, because I feel like it's more valuable for me to see how much people really fuck with me as like a checkpoint than to portray this image of I'm more successful than I am, because you can't keep up with that forever. You know, if you're like if you're buzzing and that's like your whole campaign is that he sold this amount of albums and people go check it out because they think it's good and the music sucks, now they're not gonna fuck with you. It's better to just keep it organic and see who genuinely fucks with you, and just keep going from there than trying to like appear larger than life.
You said you're involved in a lot of meetings with your marketing and stuff. Let's say you're marketing. Do you sometimes tell them like, hey, I kind of don't want to be put here. I want to market. So do you have like sort of a directory role, and you have like a big role in your whole, honestly, enterprise, saying like, hey, I want stuff to sound like this? Like, how much control, not only creatively, but also maybe more on the marketing and not entirely business, like, do you have?
I mean, after Mood, especially, I feel like I picked the cover art for all my shit. I picked the titles of all my songs. Like, if we're doing like we did like a viral like street team campaign, like putting up posters and like stencils, spray paints and stuff like that. Like, that was ideas that me and my team worked on together. But at the end of the day, like, I gotta let people do their jobs too. You know, I don't want to be that micromanaging motherfucker that's going over everything. I just want to make sure that there's not anything out there that I don't fuck with. And I think also too, with the whole Mood campaign and like the image that was kind of curated at that time, that was more like bubblegum. That was when I had less control over it, or not even less control, but I was listening to other people more rather than listening to myself. And like, I'll go back and I'll look at some shit that I did and be like, wish I didn't do that. Look at some TikToks and be like, wish I didn't do that. But I just take it like for my whole overall image moving forward, people will be able to see that and see how far we've grown from there.
Dope. All right, this is my first interview. I'm gonna put you on the spot for this question. Mm-hmm. What's 24kGoldn listened to? Let's say the past 5 songs that you've listened to, and you could say like the artist's name. You're like, damn, I really messed with this for this reason. How you found it, anything like that.
I mean, I'll just go to my playlist and pick up the last 5 songs that I added. Last one is Prada, of course, because it just came out. There's a song called Pattern Chanel. I don't even know who all these dudes are. It's SE Gang, Octavian, J Rick, SQ Diesel. I was just at this like party and the DJ was spinning this shit and I was like Shazamming it in the club type thing.
Yeah, so people can know that people still finding music like this.
Yeah, and then I got Big Pimpin', Jay-Z, UGK, and then Lick Back Remix, ESTG, Future, Young Thug.
You got a lot of diversity on there.
I mean, and then if you go, I got like a couple ESTG songs 'cause I was listening to that tape, but then right under it is like Human Nature, Michael Jackson. So I really listen to a lot of music, and I think that's why my sound is the way it is, because I'm able to pull from so many different areas of influence.
I personally never listened to ESTG yet.
Really?
I've heard of him a lot. I know who he is, but I was just like, I'll get to it. I haven't checked it out yet.
That nigga cold, he fire.
All right, he's from same Louisville, right?
Louisville, yeah, same spot as
Yeah,
Jack.
I gotta check it out. Well, I appreciate you, 24kGoldn, for having us. Not an industry plant.
Not
You
an
got the
industry
whole
plant.
story here, verifiable. And we'll see y'all on the next one.
See you on the next one.